The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
This is News Talk.
Hello there, you're welcome along to Tuesday evenings Off the Ball. We're headed towards Christmas week. Happy to say, time for some reflection. Your sporting highlights and lowlights for 2021. Send them in, please, 53106. It's Dave McIntyre, Kieran Cunningham leading the charge on that front just before 7:30. They'll be reviewing the year that was, so any thoughts, we will take them. 53106. Aidan O'Mahony, 5 times an All-Ireland winner with Kerry. He's written about his life and his football career in his new autobiography. It's called Unbroken. So Aidan O'Mahony is with us after 8 o'clock. Football show will feature Simon Cooper talking about Xavi at Barcelona. Simon recently wrote the book on Barcelona, of course, so hopefully some Xavi insights coming our way. Stewie Byrne with us as well after 9:30. 53106, the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack, hello.
Hey, Joe.
And Dave McIntyre, who will be on with us for the full hour. Hello.
What a treat for you.
I know. There was a degree of thinking here. Leinster, Munster postponed, COVID ravaging through the sporting world. Should we do a piece on COVID? And we thought, no, let's not inflict that on people. So COVID pieces, free zone, I think, this evening. So we thought we would reflect on the year that was. You've picked out, we thought we would go for a positive slant. We asked you for 3 highlights, 1 low light from the sporting year that was. Was this an easy list to compile? Don't give any spoilers.
It was, actually. It didn't take me too long to come up with it. I was left very disappointed by some sports this year that I didn't feel it was a standout year in Gaelic games, for example. I really didn't feel it was a standout year by any stretch, bar the Euros, which was excellent in football. So I've gone a little out of left field for my choices today. Okay,
very good. Richie, I said to you, because you're not going to be on with Kieran and Dave, give us 1 highlight, 1 low light from the year 2021. The only rule, of course, was you can't have COVID as your low light because,
COVID wasn't allowed as regards low lights. Highlights, I'll go positive first. There'd be 2 pretty personal ones, I guess. Bo's game in the Aviva against Stjarnan in the Conference League qualifiers, for the fact that it was the first time that Bo's had played in the Aviva. It was my first game back after the unpleasantness of this bloody war that's ongoing. And we won 3-0, and there was a kind of a sense of optimism around the team and what was possible for Irish teams in Europe and what was possible for the club as regards building a fan base. So yeah, and I was there with two of my sons, and it was a fantastic occasion. Like I can only look back on that as being my highlight. Like you can look at the national kind of achievements, the Kelly Harringtons, the rowing lads, Rachel Blackmore and all she did. But as well, I'm going to throw in the Meath footballers winning the All Ireland Ladies Championship as well, because like to come from where they did in terms of the last few years and where Meath ladies football, women's football had been over the past few years, to go and win an All Ireland and to do it in the fashion that they did, it was just absolutely remarkable and made everybody around the county pretty happy as well. And just one of those occasions that wish I could have called me dad over, because it would have been absolutely mighty crack to kind of revel in that for a few days and maybe take a trip out to Kildalkey. But those have been my two highlights. Low lights wise, God, like Dave mentioned, like GAA was like such, in terms of like men's football and hurling, it was just not degrading the achievements of people involved, but it wasn't exceptional stuff this year. I don't know. Apart from the FA Cup final, for obvious reasons, for losing on penalties, I don't know. It's hard to pick. I guess the Luxembourg game probably would stand out for me as being a low light, because it, like, in terms of where Ireland were as a football team, things have improved obviously in the 6 months since. But where they were back in March, that was a really low kick in the nuts for everybody, I think, that was involved in Irish football, and also marked a real low in terms of the discourse around the Irish football team, whereby everything became polarised. Like it was like the whole iron filings experiment that you do at the North and South Pole of a magnet, because everything just spread out completely, and there was no middle ground and no sensible discussion to be had for a couple of months around then. Things have improved, as you say, since, but definitely you could point towards the Luxembourg game as possibly the most deflating moment of the year.
Yeah, that's quite a worrying state of affairs for men's GAA, Dave, if you're of the opinion that there was nothing really that grabbed you, and Richie sort of saying, well, the season's as a whole were a bit of a low light. I mean, that's a wake-up call, I think, for all concerned, isn't it?
It is really, and look, it's not the first year where I felt that the All-Ireland Football Championship in particular didn't begin until the All-Ireland semi-finals, but it was the case this year. It has been the case in years past, particularly when Dublin were at their strongest. At least we did get two really intriguing. I'm not sure how high on quality they were in terms of classics that we may have had in semi-finals over the last decade. I mean, the Dublin-Kerry games, for example, stand out. The Dublin-Mayo games in when they did meet in the last four, but Kerry-Tyrone was... You couldn't take your eyes off it, and Mayo Dublin for the significance of it and the fact that you had the six-time champions dethroned. You had Mayo finally getting over Dublin after 9 years, but unfortunately they did the very Mayo thing and went on and lost to Tyrone in the final, just as they did after beating Dublin in 2012. Went on and lost to the Ulster champions Donegal. But the hurling was just, you never felt like any side other than Limerick were going to win it. And the hurling championship has been just a joy in the last decade. We've had so many different champions. I think the reintroduction of the round robins in Leinster and Munster has been a really big success. We had none of that this year either. And I just was left feeling a little shortchanged by both the hurling and football championships this year.
A few texts already come in. It's amazing how much you forget from the year that was. Matsuyama's caddy taking a bow at Augusta. Touch of class, says Denny. That was an amazing moment. Brian... Highlights, Rachel Blackmore, the continuing greatness of Katie, and the discovery of, I think for a lot of people this was a highlight of 2021, I agree, the discovery of Gavin Bazunu. I mean, that is a highlight. Yeah. Gavin Bazunu is a highlight, I think, of 2021 for Irish fans. Ericsson collapsing on the pitch. Jared Cork, I mean, that was horrific. I can't remember, were you watching that live? I wasn't. I was listening to it on the radio.
Ericsson? Yeah, I was watching that. That was a contender for my low light as well. That's because... True. Well, I suppose thankfully it's ended. It's ended in a reasonably positive way. Note. But those few minutes where he's on the ground and the Denmark teammates are shielding him and his wife is making her way to the pitch, and everything is really dark and somber, and for like you're watching a major international tournament in the summer, you're supposed to be, completely devoid of reality, and there's no sense that this is the real world happening. This is pure entertainment on a grand scale. It's unfolding before your eyes for a month, and then like the most real thing in the world is occurring on the pitch, and everybody was a spectator to it, and that it really, really that affected, I think, my enjoyment of the tournament from that point on. Because
I would have the Euros. I'd have the Euros. I think it's quite a broad one to pick, but I think I'd have the Euros as my highlight of the sporting year. I thought the Euros were just amazing. I didn't go into them with high hopes for a variety of reasons, and they blew me away. I thought the Euros was just the business for that month. And look, there's probably a degree of it's summer. We're increasingly at the gap when it comes to COVID, and that probably fed into it. But geez, I thought the Euros, right up and including the final, I thought was just compelling.
Yeah, I loved Italy during that tournament. Spinazzola was probably my favourite player of the tournament. The energy that came from the bench in terms of Mancini, Vialli, Alberigo, Avani and Lombardo and co. All that was great. The events around the final were ugly. The events involving everything to do with Hungary throughout the year, and not just at the Euros, were ugly. So that and then the Ericsson stuff obviously kind of took away from it for me.
I think it was a very good year for international football as a whole, Joe. Obviously, we had our struggles from the Republic of Ireland point of view, but that picked up as well as the year went on. You could really start to feel the debate was shifting in Stephen Kenny's favour. But you had Argentina and Leo Messi finally getting over the line in the Copa America. Even the Nations League semi-finals and finals were three absolutely brilliant games. You've already mentioned the Euros and how spectacular they were. The likes of North Macedonia, for example, making their debut on the big stage as well. It definitely cast a shadow over the club game this year in particular for me. There was very little international football that I watched or commentated on that I didn't get a kick out of in 2021.
Keep your texts coming in. There's a bunch coming in to 53106. I'll get to a few. We should start the news round, which is as ever with thanks to Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new and improved razors. And now we're into the COVID section, I'm afraid.
Yes, indeed. This is what we should just rename this, the COVID section. It's not the newsround anymore. The St. Stephen's Day clash of Munster and Leinster has been postponed. It follows a number of new COVID-19 cases reported today among the Leinster squad. Leinster will resume training next Tuesday with the aim of fulfilling their New Year's Day fixture away to Ulster. URC organisers say they will consider potential dates for the rearranged game between Munster and Leinster at Thomond Park.
I would suspect, Dave, the EPCR Medical Committee are saying that this latest development vindicates their decision to award Montpellier the game on Friday.
Yeah, well, if there is a scrap to be had in the days and weeks ahead between Leinster Rugby and the EPCR, this may be pointed towards as somewhat evidential in the EPCR's favour. But we've had this conversation so many times when I've been on the Newsround with you and Richie over the last couple of weeks. I just don't know what to say about it anymore. The rugby season is falling to pieces, and I just would not want to be in the administrative offices in the hierarchy of the EPCR or the URC at the moment, because there was very little wriggle room as there was. We've seen the news in the last couple of days where they're trying to reschedule the games involving the South African franchises and the European-based sides in the URC for February. It's going to lead to a fixture pile-up. Here's another big fixture that's gone. That's not even getting into the financial significance of it for Munster, who had sold every ticket that was going for this game. And it just goes from bad to worse. And it's just blow after blow for the professional game in this country.
Yeah, the Heineken Champions Cup in particular has had a terrible couple of years. Jack Chambers then, he was on with Pat Kenny this morning.
Yeah, Jack Chambers says he's also met with the IRFU this week as talks continue over the future of Irish women's rugby. The Minister of State for Sport, along with Minister Catherine Martin, met a delegation of current and former players yesterday. Minister Chambers spoke to Jonathan Healy on News Talk earlier discussing his meeting with the players.
And I know they released a statement yesterday that they had a positive and constructive meeting, and they had 3 core asks. And I'm optimistic now, having met them and having engaged with the IRFU as well, that there's a way forward in these issues. They want to see publication of the reviews, and that's now going to happen. They want to have better engagement and dialogue with the IRFU, and they're going to be meeting in the early new year between the players and the IRFU, but also to have oversight and implementation of many of the issues in women's rugby. And we've involved Sport Ireland in that, so that there's engagement between Sport Ireland and the players. So we need to build trust. We need to enhance that respect around the women's game. And we're, in everything I do around sport, we're trying to promote female participation from grassroots right way up to high performance. And I'm confident now that there's now space to make progress on the issues they outlined.
There are Jack Chambers speaking to Jonathan Healy on the Pat Kenny show this morning. And more rugby news then. Ultan Dillane.
Yeah, he's going to leave Connacht at the end of the season, Joe. The Ireland lock has made 122 appearances for the province so far over the last decade, and it's expected Dillane will link up with Ronan O'Gara and Donncha Ryan at La Rochelle.
Interesting move, Dave.
Yeah, it's a great move for him, I think. And I'd say he's thought long and hard about it. He's 28 years old, so he's probably got maybe 2 big contracts left in him. No doubt if he was being regularly featuring for the Irish national side and he was very much in the plans of Andy Farrell, I don't think he would be going anywhere. But I think he feels maybe he slipped down the pecking order in terms of our second row forwards. He's been a brilliant servant to Connacht. I was commentating in the Connacht-Leicester game at the weekend, and I just thought he was a really good leader. He was calling the line out. He looks like he's matured massively. And as a player who's pretty durable when it comes to that position, I think there should be a host of top 14 clubs in particular after him. I know the likes of Racing and La Rochelle have been mentioned, but anybody who gets their hands on Dillane is not going to be left disappointed, I would say.
Sporting highlight has to be Formula One resurrecting itself as one of the great TV sports. Now, it's certainly been the year of Formula One in particular. Sporting lowlight, the GAs and transients and resistance to change around Proposal B. They looked a gift horse in the mouth and said no thanks. Really annoying, says Barry and Ross Trevor. Yeah, I suspect you won't be the only one with that thought. There is talk of renewed efforts in February at Congress to get something off the ground, but we'll hold our breath. So Ulster, a couple of new deals signed.
Yeah, 3 Ulster players signing new deals with the province today. Tom O'Toole, Matty Ray and James Hume are all going to stay with the province until the summer of 2024. But on the bad news side of things for Ulster, Ian Henderson and Stuart McCluskey, both facing a number of weeks out after suffering respective ankle and hamstring injuries in last week's win over Northampton.
Now, the swimming.
Yeah, pretty good week for Ireland, who ended the World Short Course Swimming Championships in Abu Dhabi with 2 medals and 7 finalists Mona McSharry set the 18th Irish record of the meet with a swim of 2 minutes 20.19 seconds in the final of the 200-metre breaststroke. The Sligo swimmer had occupied the bronze medal position with 50 metres to go, but she ultimately had to settle for 7th. Jack McMillan placed 7th in the final of the men's 100-metre freestyle, and in his first international final over the distance, Daniel Whiffen was 8th in the men's 1500-metre freestyle. There's a world record set in that race. A bronze medalist yesterday, though, McSharry was delighted with a week in which she set 8 new Irish best times.
It's amazing, you know, because especially a lot of my events will have heat, semis and finals, and you know, you can't just do a really fast time in the semis and then not be able to perform again in the finals. It doesn't really mean anything at that point, so it's great to be able to, you know, consistently get faster and do better and learn from each race.
Yeah, she's had quite the year as well. Lads, Alisson, head of God goal against West Brom. Injury time over, bang. Lobes it into top corner. Saves Liverpool's entire season in one miraculous swoop. What a guy. We'll forgive him for coughing up the points on Sunday, says Barry in Bayside. Yeah, gave an extraordinary interview as well afterwards. Very emotional, Alisson. I do remember that. That feels, Dave, about, I guess, conservatively 8 years ago at this stage. I cannot believe that's this year.
So much has happened since then. When was that? March, was it?
When did the Premier League season end? Would have been a bit later even.
Yeah, but it was
a bit later,
it was a bit
May,
after, maybe into late April, early May.
Yeah.
It was a spectacular moment, in fairness, and obviously he'd had a lot to deal with off the pitch. But yeah, there's so much that has happened since then. It's incredible.
Yeah, Roger Allen. Highlight, Irish rugby team in autumn. Lowlight, Gordon Elliott. Controversy, which I guess is thankfully all behind us now. The Irish rugby team hitting new heights in autumn was a surprise highlight, because I just thought as we left the Six Nations, even England's result notwithstanding, Dave, I kind of thought, well, not really sure. I wouldn't put my mortgage on them replicating what they did against England. That felt like a very emotional one-off type performance, and the autumn performances have kind of, in a sense, come out of nowhere, but they've been brilliant.
Yeah, we were brilliant in the autumn, and it's not just the results, which are obviously something that you would hope would happen, but the manner in which the results were achieved. It's not that long ago, and again, you lose track of time completely, but there was a sense that Mike Catt was close to being hounded out of his job at one stage. And what is he doing? What has he been paid to do? And there's no shape to our attack and no sign of any progression.
If they'd lost the England game, Catt could have been in trouble, or there would have been certainly serious scrutiny on him. He may well have had huge support behind the scenes, but there would have been huge public scrutiny on him. Yeah,
I think so. But so you always feel that you need to separate that sort of performance against England away from anything else that comes afterwards or went before, because as you say, it raised the old cliche, form goes out the window in those sorts of games, and that has manifested itself so often when England, for example, are going for a championship or a Grand Slam and come to Dublin and Ireland just drive them into the ground. But they followed it up big time in the summer and then in the autumn, and they played some brilliant rugby against the All Blacks. And you would hope they can take that now into the new year, and that the Leinster or the Irish provinces find some form in the Champions Cup. You hope those games are played, and then you would really obviously hope that COVID does not interfere with the Six Nations and Ireland can try and build on what they've already put together in the last 6 months.
So we have live football this evening, Carabao Cup.
Yeah, the lowest ranked side left in the tournament, Sunderland, are aiming to cause an upset against Arsenal in the quarterfinals this evening. Mikel Arteta's team go into the tie at the Emirates having won their last 3 matches in the top flight. He's gone with a mix of youth and experience in that Arsenal team tonight. No Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang once again, absent from the Arsenal squad because of the disciplinary issues that saw him stripped of the captaincy earlier this month. Republic of Ireland international Aidan O'Brien is on the bench for Sunderland tonight, and kickoff is at 7:45.
So up in Scotland, Celtic are looking for some kind of a break.
Yeah, Celtic have urged the Scottish Premiership to bring forward their winter break. It follows the announcement from First Minister Nicola Sturgeon there that capacities at sporting venues will be limited to just 500 people from St Stephen's Day to combat rising coronavirus case numbers. The hiatus is currently due to start on January 3rd for 3 weeks. Parkhead side say the game owes it to supporters to maximise the prospect of them being able to attend matches.
And Antonio Conte then. So Spurs are challenging their exit. I would have thought they would have taken this exit and run and delighted.
Yeah. I'd say they're probably looking for some kind of financial recompense is going to be the upshot of all this. But Antonio Conte saying Tottenham will challenge their exit from Europe. Spurs were condemned to third in their Conference League Group G after UEFA awarded Rennes a 3-0 win for their postponed match. Conte has described the decision as unfair, saying today that the club will take legal recourse.
Yeah. And there is another step. And now UEFA took this decision, but there is another step, and we are confident that in another step, and they take a normal decision, not a decision in our favor, a normal decision, because I repeat, it was incredible what UEFA did, but also in the explanation about this defeat, I have read that Tottenham couldn't play the game for COVID case, and despite this, and they took this decision. But we are very, very confident, and for the next step, because I repeat, we deserve to play the qualification on the pitch, not on the court. Also because this is not fault. And I can't accept this, and I'm very disappointed with UEFA for this decision.
Okay, so that's Conte. We are pretty much done for the newsround this evening. A few quick texts. Resurgence of Stephen Kenny's young Irish side, particularly the way fans could see what he was at, stuck by him, was very gratifying, says Jimmy. Been going to Lansdowne for 35 years. Atmosphere and buzz in the Portugal match last night was the best in years. Highlight of my year. Tyrone Kerry game, unbelievable in person after a long time away from a big match atmosphere, says Dan. And Sean Griffin. My three highlights are Phil winning the PGA. That was extraordinary evening, actually. Phil winning the PGA at 50. Rachel Blackmore, and then Ireland beating the All Blacks in November. So that's Sean in Griffin. Fellas, we are out of time. Richie McCormack, thanks very much.
Nice one.
Dave McIntyre, you're staying with us. Hold tight for a moment there. Good man.
All you need for Christmas.
News Talk's Christmas cash machine.
Oh, get in there! Oh, thank you! Oh my God, I can't believe it!
Your chance to win big.
Now, congratulations to Louise O'Donnell, who won over €15,000. Thank you very much in the Christmas cash machine today. Tomorrow you could win €15,732.61. So to be in with a chance of playing, just text the word play to 57599. Get your entry in by 3 o'clock tomorrow. Barry Dunn could be calling you back. You have to answer your phone within 5 rings. Tell Barry the exact amount in euro and cents, and the money is yours. So remember the amount again, €15,732.61. Text play to 57599. Over 18s only. Texts cost €2.50, and terms and conditions are on News Talk.